So, it feels like the global economy is at a real turning point, doesn't it? The story that pretty much defined all of 2025 is about to run headfirst into reality. In this explainer, we're going to break down what experts are calling the 2026 recalibration.
Think back on 2025. It was all about one thing, wasn't it? The unstoppable rise of AI. But every powerful story casts a shadow. So you have to ask, what was this one hiding? What were the critical trends we were all ignoring while we were looking the other way?
And this right here really gets to the heart of the shift. On one side, you've got 2025, the year of the AI narrative. It was a great story of endless growth that kind of papered over a lot of cracks. But then you have 2026, which is shaping up to be the year of recalibration, a time when all those underlying issues could come roaring back.
Okay, so let's start by digging into what we're calling the AI illusion of 2025. It was just a masterclass in how one single, really compelling story can shape our entire perception of the economy.
Economist Mohamed El-Erian really nailed it with this. He argued that the story of 2025 wasn't just about what happened, the AI boom, but maybe more importantly about what didn't happen. The optimism from that single narrative was so powerful it actually helped hold off crises that a lot of people thought were just around the corner.
It's funny, the conventional wisdom was just completely off. Experts were warning us about trade wars, stagflation, you name it, but what we actually got was something totally different. The global economy just seemed to shrug off all the worst-case scenarios.
I mean, just look at the U.S. In the third quarter, its economy grew at a staggering 4.3%. That absolutely crushed expectations, and it was all fueled by consumer spending that was way more resilient than anyone thought possible, even with high prices and growing debt.
And hey, this wasn't just a U.S. story. Even with all the tariffs, China's export machine was incredibly adaptable. It rerouted trade and hit a truly mind-boggling trade surplus of over $1 trillion. Both of these superpowers seem to be defying economic gravity, all under the glow of the AI boom.
Okay, but here's the catch. Underneath all that good news, some pretty serious cracks were starting to show. The AI boom was a fantastic distraction, but it couldn't actually fix the structural problems that were quietly getting worse and worse.
So you have to ask, right? What exactly were these structural problems that we were all ignoring? While all the money and attention was pouring into anything AI, what fundamental shifts were we just failing to deal with?
Well, in the U.S., it really boiled down to three big things. We started to see economic growth not really leading to more jobs. Basic affordability became a huge point of stress for millions. And maybe the most important one, a really dangerous economic split was tearing the country in two.
I want to zero in on that last one, the divergence, because it's absolutely crucial to understanding what's going on. They call it a K-shaped divergence or recovery. Basically, it means that after some kind of economic shock, the recovery isn't a tide that lifts all boats. Instead, different parts of the economy recover at wildly different speeds.
This visual just lays it out so clearly. Imagine the letter K. For wealthier folks, their fortunes kept going up. That's the top arm of the K, pointing up. But for lower-income households, their economic situation actually got worse, forming the bottom arm pointing down. This isn't a shared recovery, it's a fundamental split. And it was getting wider all through 2025.
And you know what? This whole pattern of splitting apart, it wasn't just happening inside countries, it was also happening between them. On the world stage, the whole era of everyone working together to solve big problems was just fading away. Fast.
This quote really says it all. The whole idea of global cooperation, of multilateralism, well, that's pretty much over for now. We've entered this new, more broken-up world where it's all about national interests and power plays, which you might call geoeconomics.
And you can see the proof of this everywhere you look. Big international groups are struggling to get everyone on the same page, like when the US boycotted the G20. National security is suddenly way more important than pure economics. And more, what happens at home is driving what countries do abroad.
So here's the bottom line. The market somehow managed to just ignore politics in 2025. In 2026, there's no way. You just can't ignore it. Figuring out how to navigate this new geopolitical maze, that is now the name of the game.
All right, so all of this brings us to our final section, the recalibration. In this totally new environment, the old rules just don't apply anymore. Pretty much everyone, from investors to governments, is going to need a new playbook.
So if you're an investor, the game has totally changed. The old way of just riding the big AI wave, that's out. The new playbook is about being more tactical. It's about focusing on real, tangible assets instead of just wild speculation. And it's about finding tech that actually completes a market. Something that fills a real existing need, not just something that's cool for its own sake. And you know who's really feeling the heat now? Governments and central banks. For all of 2025, that AI boom was like a shield and let them get away with some pretty shaky policy because all the excitement from the private sector was covering for them. Well, that shield is gone.
And the challenges they're facing they're huge. All of a sudden, huge government deficits and debt are a much bigger deal. Central banks like the US Fed can't just keep looking in the rearview mirror, reacting to old data. They have to start looking ahead. And maybe most importantly, governments need real, actual strategies for growth, not just crossing their fingers for another tech miracle.
And that brings us full circle, back to this core idea, which El-Erian sums up perfectly here. 2026 isn't just going to be more of the same, it's a fundamental reset. It is a year of recalibration, when the underlying realities we've been ignoring are finally going to demand our full attention.
And that leaves us with one last really big question to think about. The AI story was a convenient shield, wasn't it? It let leaders avoid making tough decisions. So now that the shield is down, are they actually ready for the hard work of navigating this new reality? We're about to find out.